1, 2, 3, 4.
For everyone's safety, Vermont requires a 7-day home quarantine with a negative COVID-19 test, or 14 days with no test to visit this winter.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
We're also recommending you take the time to do some extra squats, lunges, wall sits, or high knees.
24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
With reduced lift and lodge capacity, you're going to have a lot more time to spend on the slopes. So take the time to get your legs ready.
38, 39, 40.
Vermont in winter. It's worth the wait.
1, 2, 3.
This winter, plan your trip. Don't trip up your plans. Talk to your favorite inn or resort about smart travel suggestions and reservation policies.
11.
For full COVID-19 travel guidance, visit vermontvacation.com.
16, 17.
In a not-so-quiet corner of northwest Georgia, there's a little town where the moonshine gives you visions, where ghosts race along the back roads, where criminals gather at the edge of town and stalwart guardians defend the streets. Welcome to Garfield's Crossing. We're now funding a full voicecast version of our podcast on Kickstarter. To follow the campaign, look for Garfield's Crossing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
What's going on? What's going on? You are tuned into the Cigars and Mac with Cigars and Mac podcast. Excuse me, people, a little tongue tied. I'm so excited to be back here today to bless you with yet another podcast. Today's podcast will be titled, "Why Do We Hide Behind Religion?" Yeah, why do we do that? That's a good question, and I felt like the best person to help give some great insight is my boy D. I consider him a de facto co-host because he's hosted a lot of podcasts with me. We've had great dialogue, and we're going to talk about it, people. So D, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I always just thought that people hide behind religion conveniently.
Yeah.
More than anything, and the people that really take it seriously, a lot of times don't have nothing to show for it, one, or they become psychopaths. Like, for example, I killed in the name of God or the name of Jesus or whatever. So, for example, it's funny because a lot of stuff that we read in the Bible, if people do that crap today, they'd be in jail on the psych ward. For example, like the Abraham story when he felt that, or God told him to sacrifice his son.
Yeah.
And it was a test the whole time. Can you imagine can you imagine hearing about that now? Like how crazy, people be looking at this person like, no, you just got something wrong with you, just sick in the head. And it's funny because we just say somebody's sick in the head, now, but we'll read that same story in the Bible and be like, wow, Abraham was a man of faith. That's really, I always thought that was kind of funny because I've seen stories like, similar to it. A mom killed her babies because she felt that she thought that God, or she felt that God wanted her to kill her babies or sacrifice her babies. Same with dads, stuff like that. I mean, it's so many stories like that in modern times that we will call crazy. It's funny because when we read those same stories again in the Bible, that's like, wow, this is amazing. I wish I had faith like that. I wish I could hear from God like that. I'm like, do you really want to do that? Also, when I say conveniency, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's funny because like I said, a lot of people really believe in their religion or their faith conveniently. So this is a perfect example. I've seen this actually happen. So, like a friend of mine, him and his girl had sex, and she got pregnant.
Yeah.
And again, They didn't go into having sex like, you know what, babe, I want to get you pregnant. It's like, oh yeah, me too, I already want to be pregnant.
Yeah.
They didn't go into it, you know, it was one of those things. Hey, hot and let's go ahead and have sex. And, you know, she told me she was pregnant, and they both were broke. Like, I mean, we were all young. So don't nobody have a 6-figure job at the age of 19.
No.
Unless you really connected. But you know, he was just like, okay, you know, we can't afford a baby right now. And so he just mentioned, like, okay, we may have to like do certain things like an abortion or whatever. Like, we have options. Kid you not, she told him, well, God wouldn't approve of me having an abortion. And I was like, okay, so what was God when you was having sex? Premarital sex. You know, and it's funny because, like I said, that whole convenience stuff, you know, all of a sudden you care about what God thinks when you don't want to do it. That's all it is. You just didn't want to get an abortion. Just say that. You don't got to say, well, God wouldn't want me to do that. Because to me, you look very dumb when you say that. Because, again, a lot of times when people make decisions, they don't consult. They don't pray. They don't consult God. They don't hear from God when they make these decisions. They don't care what God got to say.
They can care less.
All of a sudden, yeah, they can care less. But when you're in trouble or when something happened, all of a sudden, man or woman of faith, you want to hear from God. You want to be patient now. No, and that's always very interesting. And then again, another convenient thing. Let's just say your loved one have cancer and they're suffering, and you're praying, you're speaking in tongues that, you know, God will just heal them. And they end up dying. And you just comfort yourself by saying, you know what, God just wanted them to come to be home with him.
Yeah.
First of all, you don't know if they in heaven or hell. That's one. You know, two, how convenient is that whole feeling? That's very convenient because, again, when things work out, you want to praise God. But when things don't work out, you want to blame the devil. They said that wasn't part of God's plan. And that part of God's plan always get me because why do you pray? If God's plan is, or God's will is going to be God's will, or God's plan is going to be God's plan, there's nothing you can do to change it or anybody else except God, by that logic. So that's why I just never really understood that whole, you make excuses for God, but don't make excuses for nobody else. You don't make excuses for your kids. You don't make excuses, hey, you know what? My kid may not be shit in life because I wasn't shit raising them.
Yeah.
You're not gonna say that. You know, you're not gonna give nobody no excuse. But when it comes to God, oh well, God just didn't want this to happen, and you're fine with that. You're fine with having a bare minimum. But when people who ain't even thinking about God having way more than you, I think as a logical person, you should have a problem with that, and it's okay to question things. And it's so funny because, like I said, the whole conveniently, because a lot of people don't even read their whole at all. They don't look at stuff like, for example, the Bible approved rape plenty of times. I mean, hell, Moses approved it when the Israelites took over this one city. I can't remember what the city was called, but Moses said, "Kill the men, the boys who are not virgins, and for the girls or women who are virgins, just take them for yourselves." He told his soldiers that. What do you think take them for yourselves mean? It ain't for a picnic. So they got married against their will, and they still have sex, and not, you know, if the girl don't want to have sex with you, she had no choice because you have sex with you or get killed. So, and it's another passage in the Bible where if a man rape a woman, he have a choice to buy her. Wow. As far as, you know, as a wife. Because, you know, a lot of people get that misconstrued too. Like, they think the father walking his daughter down the aisle is a great symbolism. That stuff changed in modern times. What that meant was the father walking his daughter down, he's walking his property down to exchange it for it, to give it to another guy who gave him money for his property, aka daughter.
That damn near sound like prostitution a little bit.
It is. You basically pimp your daughter out for either some money or some land or whatever. Like, that's where that's come from. It's not no Oh yeah, I just want to get why do dad gotta give his daughter away? Because he's the head of the household. He's giving away his property. Well, you tell people that people get offended. They're quick to get offended, but not understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying women deserve to be property. I'm saying that's how it was back then. I mean, but like I said, people. And I mean, I ain't gonna talk about how the Bible said it's okay to be to have slaves. Hell, he even gave a guideline on what a slave should do. Obey your master for your earthly for your rewards will be in heaven. Why did you have so many slaves that was okay with being slaves? 9 out of 10 they believed that passage and was like, you know what? I may be getting my ass whooped now, but why not die? That's another thing, and it's so funny because with that same that whole dying thing. This is another thing I say conveniently. Majority of people who believe in religion are scared to die. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever noticed that?
What's that? Speak on that one more time.
Majority of people that believe in religion are scared to die.
Yeah, that's the craziest shit to me. You should be looking forward to death.
Yeah, because you believe in it wholeheartedly. You don't even want to speak bad about God or your religion because you're scared that if you should die right in and there, you're going to hell. And to me, religion. A lot of people believe in religion out of fear and out of comfort. Because if you think about it, if you knew that you can do whatever you wanted to do, you had the power to do whatever you wanted to do, and you went ahead and there was no idea or there's no conception of heaven and hell in your head, would you really just go ahead and let me go believe in something? No, a lot of people believe in it because they want to they scared because they don't really know what's going to happen when you die. They don't know if you're just going to go to another dimension. They don't know if that's just it. Or they don't know if there's really a heaven or hell. Don't nobody know. You can believe all you want to. But I always say this, hope is not a strategy. So either you know or you don't know. So with me, I don't live my life off the what else. Because
that's right.
This is my whole ideology. If there is a God, the God of the Bible, God of the Quran, or the Torah, there's a God that's exactly like that. And because people don't believe in that God, because there's little to no evidence that a lot of stuff really happened, and so that is there, that could be other stories. That's not necessarily the Bible.
Wow.
But that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, no, talk about it, bro.
Like for example, I'm trying to think of a really good one. Okay, so every culture, every civilization talks about a great flood.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people just think that the ark stories is just in the Bible. Now, maybe from my understanding of it, maybe it was just that maybe the Bible just talked about Noah by itself. But there were, according to different scriptures, depending on which one you believe in or read about, there were other. Noah wasn't the only boat. I mean, to me, it makes more sense that it was more boats. That the flood supposedly had happened. But it makes sense that it's more boats because you can think about it. How did they really populate the earth? That means everybody related for real. Like, if everybody died except Noah's family in that flood, how did they really repopulate the earth? How did we get black people? How did we get Chinese? How did we get white people? How did we get Mexicans, Hispanics, Brazil? How did we get all of these different people if we all came from that one particular source? Where did these other bloodlines come from?
Well, first and foremost, you got to know that if the story of Noah is true, there was some incest going on.
Oh yeah, I mean, even it's funny because Lot, Abraham's nephew, after they fled from the city of Deborah, and Lot's wife looked back and turned to stone.
Yeah,
his daughters raped him.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to say they drugged him.
Got him drunk.
Yeah, got him drunk, and they raped him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's, kid you not, that's exactly what happened. And again, don't like bat an eye to that. You know, there's a lot of crazy stories in the Bible. Like, for example, the story of Job. You know, a lot of people will say, well, a lot of pastors I've heard say, that's just a testament of showing if you have faith in God, no matter what, God will bring you through it. And, you know, God will give you double for your trouble. There was a matter of fact that it was a bet between God and the devil in the story. And we don't really want to talk about how the devil is really one of the sons of God. It's actually confirmed in the book of Job. So, yeah, there's more than one son according to the Bible. That's why they call it sons of God. Jesus is this one, and from the context of the book of Job, the devil is one too. Could have said the sons of God came up to God, and the devil. I want to know if they call him Lucifer at that point, or they probably call him Satan at that point. I had to look back at that particular passage, but we're just gonna say the devil because I mean that's what he ended up becoming in the story. He look. So if I say, yeah, you know, Courtney and his family came to Darius, and Courtney walked up, or Courtney family came up to Darius, and Courtney stepped forward. That means you came. That means you're part of Courtney's family. You know what I'm saying? So that's when, and then too, God asked the devil, "Where have you been?"
That's right.
The devil said, "I've been to and fro earth, seeking who I can devour."
That's right.
Why would God? And I don't know if you noticed this in the Bible. God always asks questions that He should have known the answer to. I don't know. It was never clear if He's just trying to see people tell the truth, which it don't matter. You're gonna still get punished. So, I mean, you just toying with the person at that point. But yeah, that's what's always interesting to me, because obviously, for example, we talk about, God, you know, knows everything and stuff like that. Why did He create the devil? Why didn't He just kill the devil?
That's right.
Because one of the things, because you're a parent, if you saw, for example, that, I'm trying to think of a great example, because this is okay. If you saw that your son let's just say he keep touching the iron in his arm, no matter what he touch it, no matter how many times he burn his hand, would you A, hide that iron, or B, just whoop your son every time you touch the iron?
I would think you want to whoop his little ass.
And apparently, you know, I guess that's what God don't do. God just ready to like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let the devil do whatever you want to do. And then too, let's think about this. When Lucifer, it's so many plot holes into this whole religion thing. I don't really see how people say, you know what? Out of all things, this is what I want to believe in. Because think about it. Okay, Lucifer got cast out of heaven.
Yeah.
Why would God send him to Earth with humans? There are other planets, there are other universes that, you know, scientists confirm and stuff like that you could have sent Lucifer to, but you wanted to send him to Earth. How convenient. You could have sent him to Mars.
Pluto.
Yeah, there's so many other planets outside of Earth. So that's, to me, it's like things like, I'm not saying I'm the smartest cookie in a bunch, but I'm just thinking like, man, if I thought about this, you mean to tell me an intelligent being didn't think about this? Unless it's just some sick game. So, I mean, like I said, I'll go back to the whole cancer thing. You know, I've seen people actually told me, because they would get mad at me because of my stance on religion. I don't believe it. I think it's just a waste of time. I think you already have the power in you. You just needed something to believe in that make you feel like you can do it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you don't have enough confidence to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
So I heard people tell me, well, well, God, cured me from cancer. I'm like, no, it just wasn't your time to die. That's all. Because when it's your time, it's your time. You can't do nothing about that.
That's right.
But, and let's say, look, I go with the argument, okay, you know what? You got cured. God cured you. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
Because you're not doing nothing that's impacting nobody else's life. You're still, you're going to work, working a job you hate. After you beat cancer, I don't know if I had cancer, like threatened cancer, and I got into remission. I'm reevaluating a lot of stuff I'm doing from now on. I'm not doing the same stuff I did before I had it. Like, my life is going to change dramatically. I'm no longer not going to do things that I hate doing.
I'm finna live life to the fullest.
Yeah. And I feel like that now, so it's like, imagine something like that would happen. But somebody like Chad, the guy who played, he was literally in his prime. He was actually touching lives, but he couldn't beat his cancer. He died from that.
Yeah.
But God saw something in you. You ain't doing shit with your life. And you damn near 50, and you don't plan on doing nothing with your life. That's going to really impact people. Like, Chaz would impact people. With that one role, he's been around since forever, but with that one role, he impacted people. And he was going to try to do part 2 because he thought he was going to be Will. I was reading articles about that. He thought he was going to be better to do part 2, but it wasn't in the cards. But with you, though, God was like, you know what? Let me take Black Panther away, but you know what? I'm going to keep you around. It just wasn't your time to die. It was his time to go. It wasn't your time to go.
I feel like religion, especially Christianity, especially Black Christianity, keeps our people in a child state of mind.
It does.
Because I remember years ago, I had a pastor tell people to walk, if you name it and claim it. So if you want that $500,000, well, back then $100,000 house was a lot of money. If you want that $100,000 house, walk around it 7 times, like the
Wall of Jericho.
The Wall of Jericho. You heard? Okay, so you heard that foolishness too. Okay, so walk around the house instead of just telling people, get a job, get your credit right, because houses were more easily to obtain back then. Get your credit right, and then buy the house. I've even heard one pastor get up. He said God told him to get this house. So he said that the real estate agent told him, you're in the house. No money, just move in. And he said he'd been in the house for a year with no payments. Now back then, that sounded really exciting. But now that I'm 34 years old, he was squatting. So
that's what he was doing. When does that really happen? Like, it's that sounds like one of those little YouTube people personalities that be like, yeah, trade these stocks and you'll make $1 million a day. You go ahead and trade that stock if you want to. You're gonna lose your wife, your house, and everything. They ain't gonna tell you that, hey, they're not gonna tell you the real stuff behind it. And I always say this, especially with religion, especially because I lived the whole religious lifestyle. Especially when I was younger, I was so gun ho about a lot of stuff. It's funny because a lot of people now, when they talk to me, they don't understand that I know a lot about the Bible and about Christianity because I grew up in it. I went to private school.
That's right.
From kindergarten to 8th grade, and if I wasn't in school, we was literally at church. It was Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and don't let it be a doggone conference that week. So I grew up in it. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen people still stay stagnant. I've seen people who die in the church and their family still haven't recovered from it. Because instead of paying tithes, they could have been paying life insurance and actually educating themselves about it. So that's the thing. That's another thing too, because I've always heard disputes that just wasn't educated about certain things. You didn't want to be educated about it.
Yeah.
You did not once think like, man, if I die, will my family be okay?
Wow.
You know, and that's what I mean. I'm 29 years old, and I already think about that. And I already made preparations just in case something happened to me prematurely, because I would love to live to old age healthy, but you know, sometimes things are not in the cards. You
That's
know,
right.
my time can come at any point, and I'm okay with that. I don't fear death, because it's something that's going to happen regardless. Why would I fear something that's inevitable? What I don't want to happen is I'm gone. For example, my fiance is going to be left with nothing but debt.
Yeah.
That's not a way to live. That's not how I would want her to live.
That's right.
I would want her to be comfortable as possible. I would want to make sure my little brother and my little sister are fine, that they can go ahead and fulfill their dreams, even if I didn't get a chance to fulfill mine. Somebody in my family is going to fulfill their dreams.
Skiing, riding, sledding, winter biking, winter hiking,
No matter how you Vermont, please Vermont safely.
cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, snowmobiling, snowman building.
This year, that means a 7-day home quarantine with a negative COVID-19 test or a 14-day home quarantine with no symptoms to visit.
Snowball fighting, ice skating, ice climbing, ice fishing, ice cream eating,
So we can all Vermont safely this year.
dining, craft beering,
Talk to your favorite inner resort about smart travel suggestions, reservation policies, and the best way to Vermont this winter.
hot cocoaing, antiquing, shopping, fireside napping.
For full COVID-19 travel guidance, visit vermontvacation.com.
Save your most important documents and photos in the cloud. A Microsoft 365 subscription gives you a full terabyte of secure OneDrive storage, plus an added layer of protection with OneDrive Personal Vault. Buy now at Microsoft365.com/photos.
Whatever is left to them is gonna help them out to do it. That's perfectly fine.
That's right.
But that's how my brain think. I don't think like, well, God's gonna take care of them. I'm like, well, how did that work out for your life? You know,
That's not logical.
it's not logical. That's just you being in denial and stupid. Because at some point you got to come to a realization, like, okay, what if this get me? I've even heard people say that it wasn't for God, it wasn't for Christianity, that I'd be out here in the streets, either being selling drugs or being a I guess I gotta say, 'cause I heard people actually use the term, or being a hoe. Because people said it. I mean, you can tell just in the church, they still like that. And you know what's so funny? Because this always crack up, and I think me and you like joke about it. I told you this when I used to always hear. Whenever I see like especially an older woman talking about her past, she's like, I was out here, y'all. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, she was getting it in back in the day. Okay, she probably still is. But anytime somebody say that I was out here, y'all, I was like, okay, yeah, you was out here having sex, sucking dick, and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? How else can I interpret that? I was out here, y'all.
Man.
But you sure wasn't your friend. So, but it's so funny because they were like, well, I just give credit to God because if it wasn't for that, I would still be out there. Like, no, you wouldn't, because you'd be damaged goods at that point. You're 60 years old. What are you gonna do? Like, who's gonna pay for that? Or who's gonna really take that seriously? I mean, you may have your sick person or somebody who had that old woman fetish, but 9 times you don't want that guy. So, but it's so funny because again, they always say religion made them better. Now, I always argue, you chose to make yourself better. You just hid behind religion. You use religion as an excuse to try to really get your life together.
That's right.
And it's not, because I mean, I know. I remember me and my mom, we would get into a lot of things about this, and I remember she had told me that it was God that made, made. I don't want to misquote her, but from what I interpret from what she was saying was that by her being a Christian, by her believing in God, That's what made me into what I am now. That's what made me better as a kid, from growing up.
Wow.
And I told her, I was like, nah, you being a good mom is what made me what helped made me what I become.
That's
helped
right.
develop me. I put it like that. It wasn't because I know you. Same with you. You grew up with people that y'all went to the same church and everything. And a lot of times, those same people that you grew up with are not as successful as you.
Yeah.
Or they out here doing other stuff. They smoking all the time. They drinking all the time. They're not being productive with their lives. And that's what I told my mom. I was like, if it wasn't you for always being on me, I more than likely wouldn't be where I'm at now. Like, she was on me so hard that, for example, I could bring home an A. How come it wasn't an A plus? I could bring home a B. How come it wasn't a B plus? Like, that's how she was on me. And it created a pattern with me that no matter how successful I get, I'm like, okay, I can do better.
Yeah.
Always challenge myself. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's like, okay, just relax and enjoy your success. But that's what was instilled with me. That didn't come from religion. That didn't come from her believing in God. It came from her wanting the best out of me. That's what that came from. That's what I told her. Like, no, everything that I have myself, whether it's my mistakes that I've made, because I'm not perfect. I've done some things that, hey, I'm not proud of. I've said some things that I'm not proud of. But I did it. So I own it. At the end of the day, I'm the one that got to suffer the consequences. I'm the one that got to suffer the consequences and benefit of the rewards of my decisions and my execution. Nobody else. I don't look at, when something bad happened to me, I take ownership of it. When something bad happens to people who hide behind religion, they blame the devil.
I remember, man, I would see people in the church get married, man, and they say God sent this person to them.
I didn't know you going with this. I've seen it too. Go ahead.
And then some year later, they're divorced. And I'm like, well, didn't you say God sent them to you? Talk about that, man.
Man, oh my God, I've seen that so many times. They even go so far to go to a pastor for counseling, and the pastor go ahead and give them the stamp of approval, and then it turn out the guy is a fucking drunk, abusive as hell, or the woman just didn't really want to. She's wanting to get married to anybody. Hell, the mailman, or hell, she married a pastor if he was cool with having two wives. Hell, my God said, you know what? I want y'all two to be together.
Hell,
I've seen like my parents. So as when I was a kid, my parents. We all joke about this now, because when we look back at it, me and my parents reflect. My stepdad, a lot of his friends at church, would sleep on his couch in the living room.
Yeah,
because they would get into arguments with their wives. These are the same people that somehow God told them that they were supposed to be married, but they all end up getting divorced because the guys end up cheating on their wives. I actually saw one. I saw one. It was actually right across the street from the church. Me and my friends were playing. We was kids, and one of them was beating his wife in the car.
I even remember one time at church, man. This bishop came to preach, and you know how altar call is, and he got the prophesying, and he said, God told me some of y'all have a nicotine problem. Dude, I didn't realize that many people in the holiness church smoke cigarettes. And I'm like, well, now that I'm a little older, I think he saw cigarette butts on the church grounds. That's why he knew that. It wasn't because God mysteriously told him that people had a nicotine problem.
Exactly. You know what's so funny about that? So I told my fiance this story. This is when I realized the power of just being general as hell. So, at my parents' former church, people sometimes they feel like they heard a word from God. And so I was in high school. I think it had to be like my junior, senior. I want to say it was my junior year. For some odd reason, I don't know what came up with me to do this, but I was like, yeah, I got a word from God. And so I got up there, right? And I saw people sitting down. Cause it was worship, it was like I guess the praise and worship team was singing like some worship music. And you gonna crack up. So I saw people sit there, some people sitting down. And I was like, I hear the word of God saying, God is telling me that, well, Jesus is telling me this, that I see you all sitting down on me. But did I sit down when I was on the cross, when I spreaded my arms and got nails in my hands? Kid you not, those people that sat down stood up and started shouting.
What?
Kid you not. And I was like, wow. And so, and I did that once my eyes were open to that, because I built the crap out of that. And so, once my eyes open to that, I was like, okay, so basically just say general stuff. So, for example, when they do altar call, a lot of pastors be like this, especially when it kind of time for tithes and offering. Like, if you need that, if you're going through something that you got a bill that need to be paid, but you just don't know how you're going to get the money for it, oh, come on up here, or go ahead and, go ahead and tithe. And it's just general stuff. Somebody have a bad relationship. Somebody blinked. It'd be something that it'd be general. And people will lose their mind and actually think that pastor or that speaker know exactly what they're going through.
I could remember I was part of a ministry year when I was a kid. And I remember we was in a small church. And I take it, again, now I'm thinking with my logical mind.
Right.
And I take it that church we was in was very profitable. Money was flowing good. So the pastor got an epiphany to get a bigger church.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we got a bigger church, and I want to say not even 60 days of being in there, the lights got cut off.
Yeah, so I guess the epiphany was to get to church, but he needed to have another epiphany to pay the bills.
And so the pastor's wife was like, they're working on electricity. No, we owe for the light bill.
Yep.
But nobody...
Let me ask you this question. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I didn't want to forget. Now, when I guess the electricity, the light was cut off, before that happened, was your pastor more intense about people tithing?
I believe so. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because, I'll say this: the pastor never really was like on people about giving.
That's rare, because a lot of times when they know what builders do, they really want you to tithe for real. Like they start passing around the tithe and play more than once, or they really try to guilt you into doing it. A lot of times, because I know that happens when deals are due, or when they have a guest pastor and they depend on the tithe to pay the guest pastor for coming out to speak. And that's why they always do like love offerings and stuff like that.
And I tell you, man, you would think that the Bible talks a lot about being a good steward. But I find that most Christians financially are not good stewards.
No.
And I'm wondering, like, man, did you skip the verse of the Bible that says to manage your money, manage your business, handle your business, pay your debtors? I've even... Oh man, I remember I knew a Christian. There was like $500 laying on the ground. It was in a Western Union envelope.
Oh, they like look at God.
That's exactly what they said. They never thought to, because in those envelopes, in that there's usually a receipt with someone's name on it. Mm-hmm. And of course, back then we didn't have technology like we did, but you would think with her being a Christian, she would have went back in the store and said, "Hey, somebody's $500 was on the ground. Here goes their name. You may want to get this back to them." No, she thought that this is what God did this, but really that was stealing.
Yeah, that's what that was.
But they're hiding behind religion. I mean, man, and what made me talk about this topic was there are so many people who I know who are religious, and do you know they're in the same place they're in the same place today that they were in 20, 30 years ago. They have not moved one iota.
Exactly. And people don't understand that. They don't think about that until a lot of times it's too late. Because, they always say, I pray for God for healing. Well, I don't know if your church had this back in the day, but I know the churches that I went to, they always had somebody that was a great healer. And I always thought about this. I'm like, okay, so I know some of the stuff. I know a lot of stuff is staged. When they do like these little healings in front of people at the church.
Yeah.
But to me, if you're really a healer, if you really allowing God to go through you to heal people, how come you're not at the cancer centers? How come you're not at these children's hospitals or these kids that's, that have some type of defect or that's going through some type of disease that they were born with? Or how come you're not going to these old folks, senior living homes, and curing people from dementia or Alzheimer's? Like that's show me that healing. Don't show me a controlled place where you can control the outcome or something, essentially. Or you got people that's there that 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 it can look good for you. It looks good that okay, they on the verge of getting better. So I'm gonna go ahead and pray over them and make it seem like God is using me. I remember one time when I was a teenager. It was a vet. He served in the Iraq War. His tank got bombed.
Yeah.
And so he from the waist down he couldn't walk really. It was very hard. Like he went through a lot. Because I remember him before he went to war and after. Like it was horrible to see what happened to him. And so they the guest pastor prayed over him, and tried to make him walk. When I said that was the most heartbreaking thing to see, and the guy was like literally in tears. It wasn't tears because he was believing. It was tears because he was in pain when he was trying to attempt to walk. So months later, it was actually a whole other year later, and he was saying that the doctor said he's gonna go through some intense therapy in order to really walk again, but it would never be the same how it was before.
Yeah.
Like a year or two later, when I saw him, it was still hard for him to walk, but he was walking with a cane. Like he needed support to walk. It wasn't like he was like he can fucking do the moonwalk and jump up in the air and kick somebody in the forehead. Like it was literally like he was still struggling. But it was the same thing. Like, okay, that prayer didn't really do nothing because I would argue that he would be in the same position without the prayer.
Hell, I remember at a revival, there was a woman who was not a revival. Yeah, it was a revival. Yes, it was. And there was a woman, she was paralyzed. And they were praying. They had her legs all oiled up with that prayer oil.
Mm-hmm. Which is olive oil.
And the woman never walked. And they was telling her
did they ever address it?
They said that she didn't have her faith isn't strong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, the woman just can't walk. She's paralyzed.
That's worse than The Secret. Like that documentary, The Secret, where you think about it and your thoughts become reality. They don't talk about the work that you got to put in to make your thoughts reality.
Most definitely.
You just got to think about it. And when bad things happen to you, it's because you always think about the negative. And like it's kind of easy to think about the negative when it constantly happens. It's just common sense. And for example, with the one that you're talking about, I'm pretty sure she wanted to believe that it worked. It would work. I don't think that she was like, you know what, this is stupid. I'm just going to be paralyzed. I severely doubt that's what she was thinking.
No.
I really severely doubt that. I believe that she wanted it to work, but it just didn't work because they're not healers. It was another revival of a guest pastor I remember this perfectly. And I told my stepdad this. She had all the business owners come up to the altar and give $100.
Wow.
And she said that God said, you go ahead and tithe this money. Your business will double in profit. You know how many people lost their business that was up that altar?
What, 90% of them?
Because she didn't say you got to make better decisions. You got to make right decisions from now on. She said, give me $100. God said, if you give $100, you're going to go ahead and double your profit. There was no contingency. There was no, hey, if you make better decisions, hey, if you look at the marketplace. She said none of that. She just said, give me $100 and God will do this.
Hell, I remember.
What do you call that if that don't happen? They call that a scam.
Hell, I remember one time the pastor told people to give like $100, and people was giving it, and one lady she didn't give it, and she said I almost gave the money until something told me your light bill is due. And she said I snapped out of reality real quick.
Yeah.
So it's sad, man. And my thing, like I said, I've been seeing some people that I knew from Christianity years ago, and I'm like, man, these people are still in the same condition.
Yeah.
And you would think that something would tell you maybe I need to do something different, but it didn't.
That's true. That is 100% true, and it's more scary. Yeah, you spend like, cause we older now, so we see people a decade at this point do the same thing over and over and over again, and that's what the definition of insanity is, doing the same thing over and over again to get different results. And there's a lot of insane people that do the same over and over again, or it's plenty of times I brought like business position to people, right? I'm like, hey, you know what? I know you got a talent. So let's say you got a talent in drawing. I need somebody to do graphic design for me. Let's go ahead and take care of this. Let me pray about it. Kid you not, they would say, let me pray about it.
For what?
Exactly. Like, what do you got to pray about? It's common sense. Do you want to do the business or not? But the moment somebody said that, and I remember I posted this before too, the moment somebody tell me when we're discussing business, let me pray about it, the business deal is dead. I don't even want to do business with you because now you show me you're indecisive. And why would I want to go into business with somebody that's indecisive? Now, I would expect that more of you to say, okay, let me crunch some numbers so I can give you the price that would work out for me, or we can talk about the price point. I will respect that more than let me pray about it.
Because it's more realistic.
Yeah, it's more realistic. Because, especially if I came at you out of nowhere, about the proposition, I would want you to think it over. I would want you to, see what works out for you, what will make you happy. Because if you're happy working with me, that means you're going to do your job. But when you say, I'm going to pray about it, it's like making my skin crawl. Because I'm like, really? Do you pray about what foods you're going to eat before you eat it?
Hell, we work for a manager that's a Christian, but he lie like a motherfucker.
Yeah, well, no problem.
Well, he
would look at you in your eye and lie about you. He lied to you.
And I'm like, you sit in those pews every Sunday, pray, and I can tell he cries at church. I can look at him and tell he's a crybaby at church. Mm-hmm. I can tell those weepers. And I'm like,
it'd be something to jail with the pastor say too, like somebody's in this church married, and he start crying like, "Oh God, you know me." It'd be something as simple as that.
I'm like, you go to those church doors every Sunday, and on Monday morning your ass is lying like a motherfucker.
His ass like, the joke's on you. I ain't going to the church doors no more. COVID.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I
you know what's so funny? How come there's no healers healing people who have COVID? Where are these church healers at now? Where are these church healers? How come they not going up there to people that have COVID laying hands on with that little Crisco oil or olive oil or vegetable oil, whatever oil they decide to pick up at Walmart, and put on these sick people and heal them. Where are these people that have been COVID? Actually,
right.
it's going to be. I don't want to be that guy because I know it's a sensitive. It's still kind of fresh. But I kept hearing stories about the Chadwick Boseman, the Black Panther guy. He was a Christian, so I know for a fact that, and I'm not gonna say I know for a fact. I'm 98% sure that there was somebody at his church that that can heal people, or the pastor doing healings and stuff like that. Why didn't? If they did, I'm pretty sure they prayed over him. Nobody prayed his work.
Man,
he had that cancer for 6 years. Nobody prayed his work because normally when Christians get sick, they want to get prayed over.
Oh yeah.
So people don't think about that. They just think that. Oh yeah, he was a Christian. Yeah. Yeah. They don't think about. Man, I'm pretty sure people prayed over him for healing. That's crazy. But then they chop it up to, the good Lord just wanted him to come home.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I could remember, man. I could remember seeing people in the church, man, homeless, and they still giving money.
Skiing, riding, sledding, winter biking, winter hiking.
No matter how you Vermont, please Vermont safely.
Cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, snowmobiling, snowman building.
This year, that means a 7-day home quarantine with a negative COVID-19 test or a 14-day home quarantine with no symptoms to visit.
Snowball fighting, ice skating, ice climbing, ice fishing, ice cream eating.
So we can all Vermont safely this year.
Dining, craft beering.
Talk to your favorite inner resort about smart travel suggestions, reservation policies, and the best way to Vermont this winter.
Hot cocoaing, antiquing, shopping, fireside napping.
For full COVID-19 travel guidance, visit VermontVacation.com.
Buying a used truck can be full of unknowns. But at Penske, we know trucks. Our expert sales team can help you find the right used vehicle to meet your business needs. Plus, at Penske, buying is easy with financing, insurance, and warranty programs available. Leave the unknowns behind and buy with confidence. View Penske's entire inventory, current deals, manager specials, and used truck center locations at PenskeUsedTrucks.com.
They give it money, they give it their time, their free time to work at the church for no money.
For no money.
I mean, I've seen it too. It broke my, it broke my heart when I was younger because I was just like, this can't be real. This cannot be real. Because I can imagine having a family and I don't have things to do with my free time. I'm volunteering at the church. But I'm still scared about my light bill, my electricity bill, cable bill, food, groceries. I'm scared about all this stuff not coming into fruition. But my free time I'm spending with at church. I told both of my parents, my stepdad and my mom, this, that I thought they wasted their time, their prime of their lives by doing too much for the church.
Those money-making years.
Yeah, their money-making years. My parents should be comfortable. And I told them there's nothing that's not that I'm saying right now that I never told them. Because that's always my frustration. Like a lot of people, especially my stepdad, he compared me to, I don't know if you've seen The Last Dance, that documentary about the Bulls.
With Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Michael Jordan. And I knew Michael Jordan had this mentality. I knew Kobe Bryant had this mentality. And I guess in some way I loved it because I guess I have the same mentality too. Well, according to other people, they feel like I have it. And this is what I'm talking about. As far as if I'm doing it, why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
So, my stepdad told me that. He was like, you know, you have that type of mentality, like, you know, if I can do it, you don't have no excuse. Which is true. I'm like that, like with everything. I'm way worse on my little brother than anybody because I know he can do better. And it could be because of my mom, you know, and still that in me is, you know, when I was a kid. But when I was telling my stepdad, I was like, y'all wasted a lot of time. My stepdad was an armor bearer.
Oh, I know about them.
Yeah. So, you know, whatever, he's there before church even open up sometimes. And he's definitely there when they lock the doors of the church. The pastor went home, went about their day. And my stepdad locking the church, making sure everything is good around the perimeter. Like, basically being the security, essentially. And after all those years, there's nothing to show for that work. Now, imagine if my stepdad and my mom, because she don't escape either, imagine if they would have took that same energy into putting into things that they really wanted to do. Like if, like my mom, she's big on working out, starting like going ahead and getting a certification to become a personal trainer or something.
Yeah,
and working to get clients, stuff like that. Especially back in like the early 2000s, late 90s, that stuff was really popular for real. I'm not saying it's not no more, but I'm just saying, like, really back in the day, it wasn't, oh, hey, let me go use an app to have a personal trainer. It was, you got to go into the gym. She could have been doing that. My stepdad could have perfected a lot more. He could have learned more about his phone business and stuff like that. A lot of stuff like that they would have been in a whole different position right now. And I've seen that, and I noticed, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. So that same energy I have now, especially when I'm still young, I'm putting that into nothing but my business. If I can't gamble on myself, there's no purpose of me living. If I can't put this energy into myself, but I got to put it into a building or into somebody else's dream, I'm not alive. I'm just going through the motions until I die. You know, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be on my deathbed or, you know, something suddenly happen and I have a moment to think like, dang, I wish I would have spent more time doing this instead.
Wow.
You know, because I know a lot of people, not even just my parents, their friends, I know a lot of them regret from wasting their prime years being so dedicated to the church.
Oh, yeah.
Especially now. Because now they all they either 50, close enough to 50 years old. And I know they be thinking like, dang, when I was like 20 or my early 30s, I should have been doing this, I should have been doing that. And I would have been straight. Like, I'm investing into annuities at this point. So that way when I'm my parents' age, I can retire. I don't have to wait till I'm 60.
That's right.
You know, stuff like that. That's thinking ahead. That's making your life easier. I don't plan on working hard hell, I only plan on working hard when I'm in my 40s. Everything should be smooth, so it should be a routine by that point. All the work that I'm putting in now, but that's when you're planning for the future. I don't have to pray about that. That's something I want. That's something that's going to happen. The only way it's not going to happen is if I die prematurely. That's the only way it's not going to happen. I don't need to pray about that.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, man. I always felt like people used religion for an excuse not to be successful.
Yeah, they always say, well, I guess it wasn't in God's plan for me to be, let's just say, hell, just to be the CEO of this company. And you're going to accept that, but it's in God's plan for you to struggle.
That makes no sense.
Right. I'm like, it don't make no sense at all. So, God, success, God, like, nah, you know, But when it comes to suffering, and you can't pay your bills, your wife mad at you, your kids broke as hell, God, like, yep, that's your life. Be ye faithful. No, that don't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, man. And one of the, like I said, man, I always felt like in the church, the only person that win is the pastor and his family.
Yeah,
they're the only ones. They're the only ones that win. Everybody can't win. And man, I have even tried to help small ministries and tell them, hey, how about you, the money you're getting from your tithes and offering, how about you invest that money with a franchise so you can now give people jobs? But that was so far-fetched for them. They couldn't see past, their own selfish reasons, which is really what it boiled down to, man. Because a lot of times, a lot of church people are really selfish.
Yeah, they're the most selfish people in the world.
Yeah.
Like, I've given more to homeless people just on the street. I give it more to the women's shelter or shelter for like men. I've given my money and stuff like that to families who couldn't afford the stuff for Christmas time. Yeah, I have thank you cards saying, thank you so much for making our Christmas great. But I don't plaster that over social media and nothing like that. But a lot of people who quote unquote believe in God or believe in religion, they do before they even give a dime or reach in their pocket to help somebody else like that. They're like, well, yeah, here's a Bible. Here's to believe in a good Lord. Ain't nobody trying to hear about God when you're struggling. Like, I don't know nobody who's broke. Let's say like I'm broke as hell. Like, hey, Courtney, man, hard times. But I'm just trying to figure out how to, get something going, like get a job or do something. And you just telling me, I understand, but you know what? You got to keep having faith in God.
Yeah.
You ain't trying to hear. I ain't trying to hear that. No. And I know you ain't gonna try to hear that, especially because you have a wife and kids. You ain't trying to hear that. You trying to get these results.
That's right.
You can keep your faith. Give me results.
I've even heard some churches say they don't pay bills, but yet you receive tithes and offering.
Yeah.
And I would think if I'm a member at a church and I pay tithes and offering, that if something happens to me, well, I've invested in the ministry. Hey, no,
that's definitely not how that works.
That's not that. You're right.
No, they look at that. You invested into your blessing. You're not invested into the church. No matter how they try to put it, they were like, "Oh well, thank you for your service. Thanks."
Yeah.
They not. No people. First, I mean, as much money you put into tithes, and I think if people really think about that, they could invest into their own business.
Oh man, of course.
Or, God forbid, you actually put that money into your kid to have an interest in something. It's funny because people who have kids that's very religious, people who have kids will basically do the bare minimum for their kids. They won't put them in no programs that their kid is interested in. But when it's time for tithes and offering, they make sure they find the money for that.
Yeah, if it's not free, they're not going to invest in it.
Yeah. But you're quick to invest in something that have not worked. And what's so funny because they get like small wins. Because I've heard people like, well, I didn't pay my tithes this one time. It made me very superstitious because I heard so many stories like this when I was younger. Until I realized that, no, they just had bad luck. It's not because they didn't pay tithes. But they told me that, I was, God told me to go ahead and pay tithes. And when I didn't, my car broke down. And so that same money I was going to put into tithes, I had to put into my car.
Yeah.
Now, the younger me took that as value. The older me, the more, to have more wisdom. It's like, well, good thing you didn't pay tithes because if your car broke down regardless, like you said, that money you would have paid your tithes, but you had to use that to fix your car. What if you would have paid the tithes with that money and your car broke down? Would you have enough money to fix your car?
Zero.
Exactly, but the younger me is like, man, I need to go ahead and just keep paying my tithes. Cause I don't want nothing bad like that to happen to me.
Man, I know I'll probably, over my span when I had finally gotten a job and everything like that, I probably put damn near, I probably put damn near over $100,000 in tithes.
I can see that.
Because you know me, I'm a giving person.
Right, yeah, you are.
And I mean, my first deployment in Iraq, I would send money back to the church, man, for tithes, man. And I'm like, looking back at it now, like, damn, all that money I just gave.
Yeah.
Like, man, I look back at it now, and of course I was younger. But the older me now is like, man, that's a waste. That was universally, I'm seeing the fruits of my labor, because back, universally, when you give from your heart to people, it will come back to you. But
but they try to flip that around. They would say because you gave to them,
exactly.
And, God is gonna go ahead and bless you. You don't know when that blessing gonna come. You don't know when at all.
And some
okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Let me say this before I lose it.
I get it.
I've noticed that a lot of the pastor's children have kids out of wedlock, and I'm wondering, like, your father's a bishop. Why would you do that?
It's so many. Well, I actually know a lot of pastor kids. A lot of the pastor kids, the pastor's not raising them, or their father, aka the pastor's not raising them, or their father is too strict on them because they got to maintain a certain image. And so, imagine growing up, especially as, for example, a girl or a guy, either one. You grow up strict household, no matter what, and you got to be a certain way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to eventually rebel. Now, some people just flat out just was lucky enough not to get pregnant or turn to drugs. But it happens because either you get lacking of love and attention from your parents, and a lot of times more of your dad or it's your mom, whatever. And then you gotta be a certain way in public. That's the same as the way how these little child actors and actresses get messed up as they get older. They have to have a certain image, and now it's getting to their psyche even more because they never got to explore who they were. And so now they're gonna make mistakes like get pregnant, do drugs, act out. Because now they're rebelling against what was basically ingrained into them, and they could never express themselves.
Have you ever seen that show called Greenleaf?
I've seen bits and pieces. My fiance watch. I know my mom watches it too.
I think, believe it or not, I'm not going to say a lot of pastors are living that good, but there are a lot of pastors, man, that are really making big dough, man. Mm-hmm. And they're not doing anything with that money except for fattening. Go ahead.
Yep, stacking it up. I heard like a lot of like the storylines and stuff. My fiance tell me what's going on in the show, and my mom would tell me. What's so funny? I remember people used to get mad at me. It's funny how a show can really open up people's eyes. Because when I say it, it's wrong. Oh, I'm just being vindictive. That show Greenleaf, that showed you that church is a business, right?
Yeah.
I remember I used to always say, the church is a business. It's not for your best interest. It's just a business with a facade of your best interest. So you can keep coming back. It's a pyramid scheme, really, because what they always advocate at church. Go ahead, bring some visitors. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Bring this. You bring your dog. As long as your dog can pay tithes, bring it.
Bring them. That's right.
They don't say the tithes part, but they know it's simple math. The more people that come to your church, the higher probability you're going to make way more money in tithes and offering.
That's right.
Simple math. But the reward, the people that bring these other people, they don't get a piece of that tithe. You know what the reward is? They get to stand up.
Yeah.
Wherever they sit and introduce their people. Because that, to them, to a lot of people, that's enough. That's a reward because they're being seen. A lot of people like to be seen.
Yes.
I know. A lot of people like to be seen. So they get that 10 seconds of fame in church. And they get all the attention on them just because they brought some people. So now those people are going to go ahead and give, for example, $10 to $20. And let's say if there's 5 people, that's between $50 to $100 right there.
Man.
Just for those 5 people. Simple math. And I'm going back to the whole Greenleaf thing. It's funny because people would get mad at me when I would say church is a business, no matter what. I literally got into an argument with one girl that I went on a date with. We went on a couple of dates. And we got to argument about the Bible. I'm like, the Bible's a book, right? She literally got mad at me that I said that the Bible is a book.
It is a book.
I mean, I thought a book consists of pages and words, but she had like God just launched the Bible from heaven, and it was never touched by men. No, it's a book. We literally got into arguments about that, and you want to hear what ended up happening later on?
What's that?
She ended up getting somebody else, got pregnant, and they're still not married to this day. And this is like years. This is, I want to say, like about 3-4 years. Well, let's say about 5 years that they've been together. But you argue with me about a book, but you sitting down again, it's conveniency stuff. But what was that whole like, no, we would not say this about God and nothing like that. What was that mentality you had when you was getting pounded and got pregnant?
Oh yeah.
But again about the whole business structure, no healing business really wants you to get healed. That's including hospitals. They give you stuff to ease your symptoms. So, for example, if you're dealing with depression, you go to church, you can hear good things about yourself and God, and you're gonna feel better temporarily because life hits you once you leave church.
For sure.
Some people don't stay changed. Like, you can listen to Joel Osteen all you want to, because Joel Osteen is like, I look at him as more of a motivational speaker than an actual pastor. He's a motivational speaker disguised as a pastor. A lot of pastors are starting to adapt his pastoring style because they realize that people just want to hear good things. Because back in the day, I used to hear a lot of pastors rebuking and talking down to their members. Now everybody, goody, like, well, yeah, those that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Like, that's the stuff that I'm hearing now. Or, God want to see a smile on your face. Because if you make somebody feel good, they're going to come back. They're going to spend more money in their time because they're feeling good.
Hell, I'm
sorry.
I told one clergyman in my family to stop talking about hell, fire, and brimstone because those days are over.
Yeah.
The days of talking about hell, fire, and brimstone, you ain't gonna have no members.
Nah.
You got to talk about money.
Yep.
Money. You got to talk about feeling good and I mean, I've even heard this new term in church called strategic prayer.
Yep.
How can you strategize praying? I please explain that to me.
All that is just being strategic on. It's funny. All that is being strategic on focusing on what you really want. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all prayer really is when you think about it. You know how people say, like, whatever you say, words have powerful meaning. Prayer is that. That's what prayer is. It's not, you just happen to disguise the praying to an entity or talking to an entity. All you're doing is really talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Because what I always want to ask people, you heard from God, how did God's voice sound?
They can't tell you.
They can't tell you that. Because 9 out of 10, they heard whatever voice as their own voice. And that could be just your inner self talking to you. They don't have to be a special entity. It could be just you talking to you. Because they don't nobody say, y'all heard God's voice. Man, he got that very white voice.
Hell,
I never heard nobody say that.
I can remember when certain church members would get fired from their jobs, and they said the devil did it, but they didn't tell you what they did.
Right, they didn't tell you they were stealing boxes.
Yeah, they didn't tell that part. The devil took their job. But I'm like, well, now that I'm old, I'm like, well, what did you do? Because jobs ain't gonna just fire you for the hell of it. It's something you've done. Because there are so many labor laws in place in this country now where people are damn near scared to fire you.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, you know what? I was the same as you. Like, I never thought, like, what did you do? And like, you know, and then you think, for example, as a man, you think you can go home to your wife and tell your wife the devil got you fired?
No, that ain't gonna fly.
She ain't gonna be like, that damn devil. She ain't gonna be like that.
No.
She's like, what the fuck? What did you do?
What did I do?
So randomly, you got fired. Randomly, the devil was like, yeah, I know you have bills to pay, but fuck that, you about to get fired today, buddy.
Yeah, man. And when it comes down to religious people, I would say the only one I probably respect the most, he's not even a Christian, he's a Muslim, is Louis Farrakhan. Because the Nation of Islam is a nation within a nation. They have their own economy.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out, why can't the churches do that?
Because you got too many people competing against each other. You got too many people, they don't understand camaraderie. You know, they only band together when they all have a common goal. And unfortunately, a common goal is just something that's not going to get nobody nowhere. Because I know that the Muslim community is a lot different than the Christian community.
Yeah.
My fiance was a Muslim, and she told me so much. She told me so much about it. Literally, I almost became one because I love the more, not just because of the beliefs. Really, it was really because of the community aspect of it. I knew if I had, for example, a business, a storefront business, if I wasn't getting support from nobody else, support from them. And then there's a lot of people obviously believe in religion too, because they want to belong to somewhere. You know, that's why people join fraternities, sororities, and stuff like that, because they want to feel like they belong. They want to have their identity as that. And I always ask people, what is your identity outside of religion? Do you even know who you are? You know, that's a question. It's like you saying, it's like your identity is just being a dad. That's what you go with. And, hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Cordy. I'm a dad. Like, okay, what else are you? That's right. One aspect of you. There are other aspects. You know, I'm the man of my household. I'm the breadwinner. I'm a giving person. You know, there's other aspects about you that you would never limit yourself to one. But a lot of people who have behind religion do that. They're like, oh, well, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm this, I'm that. And like I said, they don't even do that 100% right. I remember when I was younger.
Save your most important documents, videos, and photos in the cloud. With a Microsoft 365 subscription, you get a full terabyte of secure OneDrive storage that you can access across all your devices. As part of your subscription, you get the added benefit of additional OneDrive personal vault storage. Using a second set of identity verification, this gives you an extra layer of protection for your most important and private files. Buy now at Microsoft365.com/memories.
In my high school, early part of my freshman sophomore year, it was a girl that was actually a Muslim. That the reason why I didn't date her because she was a Muslim and I was a Christian. Because I was always told that you should not date nobody that's outside of your religion because you'll be unequally yoked.
Wow.
And great person. Probably could have, at that point in my life, probably could have been the best girl I dated in my high school years. Mm-hmm. Probably. But I let religion, do what it did, and I just stepped away from her. And obviously, if I knew where she was at now, like I would actually apologize to her. Not because I want to get back with her, it's just because the way how I acted. Like I said, you grow, you know, certain things that you do, you be like, dang, I should never handle that. If I ever see that person again, I apologize. That's all.
And let's speak on something right quick, man. You said something that's really deep. Unequally yoked. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of Christians that are married to each other, they're actually unequally yoked, because if you're the kind of man that's ambitious and you're always trying to improve yourself, and you're with a significant other, a spouse that pretty much is okay with being average, you guys are unequally yoked.
Yeah.
My opinion, if your stance on parenting is one thing and their stance is a completely different thing, that's unequally yoked. Because I'll be honest with you, my wife and I, we're different, but in so many ways we're alike because we mesh well together.
And that's the thing, like, nobody's not going to be 100%, like you said, nobody's not going to be 100% alike.
Yeah.
But you all have common ground in more ways than you're not alike. And that's a great thing. I mean, I told you about me and my fiance many times, even on the podcast. Like, she worked, the people don't see what I do, but they don't see what she do. She worked, I would actually say, especially at this point, she worked extremely harder than me. Yeah. Like, extremely harder than me because she had that undying ambition, and I have it too. You know, now that more things on my end are more smooth selling now, so I don't have to put as much work in like I used to. So that's why I said, like, she really killing it. And then too, but we had that in common. Like, we work around the clock. It's so weird when we just sit back and actually relax. Like, man, are we supposed to really be doing this? Yeah. But I had to be with somebody like her because she understood me, and vice versa. Because you may have a woman that's a hard worker, that's very ambitious, and I've seen this in church too. A lot of women were okay by themselves before they got married.
Yes, I've seen that.
They were actually better off being a single mom and stuff like that because they had things going for them. But when they got with a guy that wasn't on that same level, they ended up going down financially because now that woman, now that she got to take care of him and the kids. They don't talk about that, you know, because it's a lazy. I mean, it's lazy, you know, both genders. But I'm growing up on my end. What I've always seen was a lot of single moms getting married, and things just go downhill from there.
They go downhill. That's right, and I've seen it on the man's side too, where before he met that woman, he's doing good financially. He's progressing. He's got his business. He's active in the ministry, and then he gets with that certain woman, and all that goes down the drain.
Yeah, and you know, people always talk about I try to practice wisdom. Where's that wisdom at when you noticing that you got to love yourself more than wanting to be loved? You know, and I just thought about that saying just right now. That's what it comes down to. A lot of these people don't love themselves more than the need of wanting to be loved by somebody else. Like, for example, me and my fiance we told each other this. I love myself more than I love you. Meaning that I'm not going to sacrifice my happiness for you. No. That's not going to happen because when you do stuff like that, you end up resenting that person.
Yes, you do.
That's just common sense. You just resent that person. It's like, the hell, that's all I did. You gonna act like this? You gonna get mad?
I've seen that.
I've seen it too.
I've seen that.
Hell,
man.
I've been in a relationship like that where I ended up resenting the girl that I was with because I sacrificed my own happiness. For her. It happens.
It happens. Yes, it does.
I mean, I wasn't a player my whole life. You know, I actually have a heart.
Exactly. And the thing about it, man, is that it seems like a lot of people that get married in a church, they lose their identity to a degree.
They do.
And you shouldn't do that. You should not do that.
Now you're doing it for appearance. You really want to leave the marriage, but you got to stay in it because you don't want people to think of you a certain type of way. They don't want people to say like, "Oh, nah, this person got a divorce." And you know what's so funny? That's a lot of people's logic. They stay in marriages because they don't want people in their church to judge them.
Yeah.
But there's none of these people in the church paying your bills.
Man, this damn dog of mine barking in the background. I can see the damn mic. But anyway, yeah, go ahead, bro.
But yeah, no, you're all good. But yeah, no, it's just, you know, it's funny because churches become, and I ain't gonna say it has become because I feel like they've always been like this. Church is a place where people try to impress other people and have a certain facade.
Yeah.
That's why, for example, when they were like, "Oh man, it's Easter Sunday," people be trying to show out.
Oh yeah.
People be trying to wear the best dress suit. They broke as hell, but you found a way to get you a Steve Harvey suit with a Man Warehouse, or get the best looking dress with the best church hat. You broke, but you got bills that's due. Got ahead on none of your bills. You're still in debt, and you ain't making no leeway. But instead of using your money for that, say, nah, screw that. I'm about to go ahead and get the best outfit.
Yeah.
I actually dated one girl, and I ain't gonna say dated, because we was never in a relationship. We went on a couple of dates, but she wanted me to come to church with her. I didn't want to do that, but she kept pushing. I was like, okay, fine, I'll go. We went. Well, she came because I was visiting her because I was coming from out of town, and so she saw that I had a button up, some regular jeans, and some gym shoes on me. Because the church that I went to, it wasn't. You had to dress up. Basically, come as you are. Just don't obviously come in those short shorts and stuff like that, or some thug life shirt. I mean, you could, but I mean, you know, appearances. But she got mad at me because she thought I was gonna wear a suit. I was like, hell no, I ain't about to wear no suit. I just stayed at the hotel if it's a problem. She's like, nah, you can just come on. Kid you not, when I went there, everybody was dressed like me. People had on like a nice shirt, some jeans. There was nothing different, but you know who didn't have on the jeans and shirt and a nice shirt? It was the pastor and the deacons. They all had suits on.
Wow.
And so, I noticed, I'm like, oh, you want me to be like them. And kid you not, so after the church service, the pastor was shaking people's hands, as they was leaving. She literally pushed me to the side to go shake this man's hand.
Wow.
And I was like, I can't do this shit. I was like, nah, I can't do this. Because you gotta show what type of person you are. You think your pastor is Jesus.
She's damn near idolizing him.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure if she had a chance, she'd fuck him.
Oh yeah.
I was like, hell no, I'm not dealing with that shit. Man, and that night turned out to be like one of the worst nights of my life. We got into it, and I was still mad about that. And so when she decided to act a certain way, I'm like, hey, you out here going to the pastor like that's your damn pimp. Like, here's your money, pastor. Like, what the hell is she? Of course, she got mad about that. We got a huge argument. But I told my mom after that happened, that's the last time I dated a church girl.
Wow.
I'm never dating one. If I ever find out a girl go to church, I'm not dating them.
Wow.
And I kept to my word. I didn't want that.
Yeah, because I tell you what, had y'all, let's just say you guys get married, man, your pastor, you be competing with the pastor.
Yeah, and I've seen marriages like that where I've seen marriages get into divorce because the woman was infatuated with the pastor more than she was infatuated with her husband.
Wow.
You know, and the pastor didn't do nothing to stop that. He was just like, cool. As a matter of fact, come to my office hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what happened. People don't talk about that stuff. People act like that stuff don't happen in church. People act like they only. For example, Bishop Eddie Long, he had died. I want to say a couple of years ago, which I'm like, good. I'm glad he's dead. This dude was molesting little boys.
Yeah.
But you know what happened when he came back after going through all that stuff? They banned the people that he raped from that church. Which I don't get why they were still going there anyway. But that's all another story. But when he came back, they gave him a standing ovation, everything.
Wow.
That shows you how sick people are. And how people don't, especially people in religion, they don't care about what you do as long as you give them a facade of themselves. And you have their mind. You have somebody in your mind, you got them. That's why we have cults. Religion is a cult.
Yes, it is.
But people that's what Religion is a cult that claim that they serving the one true God. Out of all the gods out here in the world, that's the one true God. So if you want to go to this heaven, you got to believe in this.
That's crazy. That doesn't even make any sense.
No. Like I said, think about every cult. They all have is a man that claims something, and people follow it. That's a cult. They follow the rules. And if you against, and they all that, yeah, don't let people shake your faith. That's what the guy who was the head of the cult would say to his followers.
Yes.
If they not with you, they're against you.
They're against you. That's right.
It's the same thing. It's parallel with each other.
That's
but then
right.
people don't see it like that. People don't see. People like, for example, I know you heard about this. I remember it was like a big wave. Like, for example, like the Illuminati sacrifices and stuff like that. And people was like, man, that's horrible. How could they be sacrificing people? Read your Bible. How many sacrifices was in the Bible?
A shitload of them.
What, wasn't Jesus supposed to be the ultimate sacrifice? So, sacrifice is all in the Bible. And really, that's just paganism, because paganism and Christianity was merged together under the rule of Constantine, because the pagans and Christians were always at war with each other. There are a lot of blood sacrifices. For example, the Last Supper. What is that supposed to be doing? In cannibalism. The blood sacrifice. I'm sorry. The Last Supper.
Mm-hmm.
Take this bread. This is my body. Drink this. This represents my blood.
That's right.
Why the hell are you drinking blood in somebody's body? That's cannibalism. What purpose did that serve? They didn't become more spiritual inclined after they did that.
No.
The reason why people remember the Last Supper, that's the last supper that Jesus had with his disciples. That's it. Nothing special came down from that besides Jesus saying that one of you will betray me. So, I mean, again, but when a cult want to sacrifice people, they're wrong.
What Peter did was some bitch ass shit.
Are you talking about he denied Christ 3 times?
Yeah, that was fucked up.
That's human nature.
That's human nature.
I agree with you. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying that's what people do. That's human nature. They go into survival mode real quick. When you see, quote unquote, the Son of God getting his ass beat, and people looking at you like, "Hey, you was with him." Now you looking at Jesus like, "Shit, I ain't trying to get my ass beat." Shit, I don't know him.
Oh man.
Who's that?
Man.
Hell, people do that to you, and they owe you money. Like, I don't know who you are. When you give me money, that's human nature. People go into survival mode real quick. Because like 5 minutes ago, he just cut off a soldier ear who was trying to arrest Jesus. But when he saw that he was severely outnumbered for real, and Jesus is taking, just getting his ass whooped, he like, oh hell no, I ain't trying to be like that.
No, I don't want no part of this.
And what's so funny? Later on, when he died, he was getting crucified, and he asked, "Can he be crucified upside down?" Because he didn't want to do the opposite of what happened to Jesus, because he felt like Jesus, the way he was crucified, that was like the standard, essentially. It was something weird, but I know he got crucified upside down. But it was funny because I didn't know, as a kid, you just think that, the way how Jesus died on the cross, that was only for him. The cross means death. And people have chains of the cross and all that, or earrings of the cross. That means death. Nothing good came from the cross. You show somebody from the Roman times a cross, a chain, they'll be mad as hell. You know why? Because that's how a lot of them died. A lot of them nailed to the cross. That was torture for people.
Yeah, that actually to be crucified meant you did something wrong.
Yeah, you was really like, for example, a leader of the rebellion, or you was part of the rebellion, or you went against like the powers to be.
That's right.
In a horrible way. I mean, when people, like I said, people don't study history. Nothing good came from when religions were in power.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think about the what they call it was Christian. It was a Christian something. I cannot. I'm drawing a blank. But when Christians were like over, when they went on the crusade and stuff like that, they persecuted anybody who practiced science. They killed a lot of people who was trying to make the world a better place. Can you imagine if like religion never stopped these people? How far more advanced we would be at this point in the game?
Very.
Like, we probably would have like a cure for a lot of diseases that a lot of us are dying from. You know, so again, there are a lot of things that I'm just like, shoot, I can live without religion.
Man.
Because at the end of the day, it don't really matter. When I die, you know, people get harp on it, but oh, well, he was a good man. He was a good Christian. You don't know if I was a good Christian. You just probably know I'm a Christian. Or I'm a Muslim. You don't know if I was good.
That's right.
I mean, that because you're a Muslim mean that you're a good person. That means you just know how to hide behind it, like what we're talking about right now. That's all the dads that was beating their kids and getting drunk and beating their wives. That's all the moms that were cheating on their husbands and getting pregnant and having their husband claim the kid.
Wow.
But they were Christians, though. They were a part of religion, though. You know, that don't mean, like I said, that don't mean that you're a good person. That just mean that you got something to hide behind.
That's right. I tell you, man.
I mean, yeah, that's where, you know, like I said, people who hide behind religion don't take accountability for their lives.
That's right.
I never met nobody that did that. I never met nobody that's a strong, whatever, Christian. Actually, you know what's so funny? A lot of Muslims that I've actually met, they took accountability for certain things. I never really heard them blame the devil. I got to compare them to like Christians. Yeah, when I compare and contrast, I really never heard them say, you know what, the devil made me do this.
That's right.
Now, there are, for example, in the Quran, there are some satanic verses. And that came from when the story behind the satanic verses is the devil possessed Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
And he was spewing out things. And when I told my fiance, I was like, okay, how do you know the whole Quran is in satanic verses? Because apparently, you know, the devil could just come and possess this man, and he's supposed to be like a prominent figure. He's supposed to be strong in this. So how do you know the rest of the Quran isn't like this? Like you just gotta have faith that it's not. And again, I choose knowledge over faith.
All day.
Yeah, I don't want to have faith that you're a good person. I want to know that you're a good person.
I remember I watched an old movie, man, and the depiction was like the movie was made like in the 70s, but the depiction was like in the 30s and 50s, between the early 20s, late 30s. And believe it or not, there were a lot of black people then who walked away from religion. Well, there was a young man, and he was getting something done, and he told an old man that the old man said something about if it's God's will, and he said, "I don't believe in God. I believe in logic." And you know that old man slapped the shit out of him.
Yep, that's what happened in Raising the Sun, the original movie, with Sidney Poitier and Ruby D. The sister told her mom the same thing. She's like, because she what she was saying was logic, and the mom slapped the hell out of her daughter. And like, as long as you in this house, you gonna say that you gonna believe that there's a God, and God is this, and made her daughter basically kind of re-brainwash her daughter to believe in that. Why do you gotta slap somebody because they don't believe in what you believe in?
Shit.
You know how stupid that sounds?
Sounds very stupid.
I don't believe in this particular religion. I don't believe in this God. Bow. That sounds like brainwash.
Yeah, man. That was the history books don't talk about it, but
there were a lot of blacks who were not even Christians.
Yeah.
But
I'm not there yet. I wish they would talk about it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's deep, bro. But man, we gotta do this again, brother. I'm gonna end on this note, man, and I definitely enjoy having you on. I think we both have broken down, you know, how people hide behind religion, man, and man, thank you for coming on, brother.
Oh, no problem, bro. No problem, bro.
All right, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks.
All right.
All right.
Well, folks, there you have it. Why do we hide behind religion? Myself and my special guest, we gave our 2 cents on it. What say you? Anyway, thank you for tuning in to the Cigars with Mac podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, follow, and download the Cigars and Mac podcast on your favorite podcasting platform. And I'm out.
You're making grilled cheese tonight. The store with the really, really good cheese closes at 7. If it's 12.1 miles away and work ends at 5:45 but rush hour picks up around 6:15, when's the latest you can leave for cheese? Don't know? Not to worry. Waze knows. Take a look at the traffic forecast and plan your drive ahead of time. Waze. Download and drive today.
Save your most important documents and photos in the cloud. A Microsoft 365 subscription gives you a full terabyte of secure OneDrive storage, plus an added layer of protection with OneDrive Personal Vault. Buy now at Microsoft365.com/photos.